All right. Hey guys, what's up? How are you guys doing?
I'm
I'm
good,
good. How are
thank
you?
you.
Good. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Chris, Ilya, thank you guys. You just played Chassi, you just played a drive-in this weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was a lot of fun. I have not played in a whole year because ever since COVID started, I'm still with my family. Like I do move out in like a month, but until
Hmm.
then I just want to keep it like super safe for them, of course. So
Yeah.
just getting that like energy of again of like traveling for a show and like just getting ready and getting that pre-anxiety before my set and then just playing was like so much fun. Like
That's
I missed
fucking
it so much.
dope. And it was driving in Arizona, right?
Yeah, it's Phoenix to be specific.
Okay, sick. Yeah, I mean
Is there even
drive-ins.
any other places in Arizona? Phoenix is the only place in
Oh,
it.
It
I'm
seems that
joking,
true,
way.
by the
true,
way. Yeah, I've never played anywhere other
true.
than Phoenix, I
No,
think.
I
And
love
that
it.
was my
Yeah.
first time going to Arizona like to play. So they go rowdy over there. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it's sick, man. I played there back in the day, like fucking years ago, and we drove there from LA, and that place is like Mars, man. Fucking driving from LA to Phoenix, it's like they could film fucking like The Martian or some shit there, man. It's like
Yeah, it's just straight. It's
just
literally,
straight and fucking like red fucking desert rocks for like miles and miles and miles.
Literally
literally.
out in the middle of like nowhere. I remember
Yeah,
making that trek when I was a freshman in college. We flew into Colorado and we drove all the way from Colorado to Utah to Arizona, went through Vegas, went through Nevada, and then came back up through
Oh my
California and went
god.
like all the way
oh
north.
shit.
And I just remember being like, is it gonna change at any point? Like, am I gonna not see desert? Is there gonna be anything different? And it was just
Yeah.
for hours on end. It's so crazy because like I live in Florida, so it's very confined here. It's great to have the water, but everything's in like a very kind of squished urban
Yeah.
place. And then when you get to like
Yeah.
the West Coast, everything is just so spread out.
Well, I remember doing on the first tour I ever did, wow, like nearly 10 years ago, we did the drive from LA to San Fran,
Okay.
and which is like 6.5, 7 hours maybe. No,
Mhm.
we're stopping and getting food and shit. But like, I'm from England where like driving any more than 2 hours is like far, like
Mhm.
fuck that. Like, and then I'll get in the car with my boy Supreme. And he's like, yeah, we'll just drive. And I'm like, we're going to drive like 6.5 hours. He's like, yeah, that's chill. I'm like, what the fuck is up with you, man? Like, that's far. And like, we drove and it felt like the longest car journey of my fucking life.
And then
It
you
was
realize you're
insane.
in the same state and you haven't even left
Exactly. Yeah,
California.
like if I left where I live, like right in the middle of England, and drove 7 hours non-stop, I could probably get to Paris.
That's
That's
wild.
Yeah, I could
crazy.
go to like a completely different country and get like halfway down to fucking the capital.
That's why I say like whenever I do make the trek, hopefully to Europe, in the next decade, as long as shit gets better, it's
Yeah.
it's very realistic to like take the train or do something. You don't
Hmm.
have to like fly because it's so much smaller. Like the density is like larger when it comes to a population, but the actual size of all of the different countries are literally like our states.
Yeah, because a lot of the
Yeah.
shows that we played in the early days, we just get the train because we've got the Eurostar, which goes from London to Paris or London to Brussels in Belgium. So
Okay.
in the early days of like sort of 2010 to 2013, 14, like dubstep was popping hard in Belgium. So we were like there like every fucking weekend, and it was so easy to just go to London, jump on the train. You're in Brussels in like 2 hours. There's no flights or anything. It's chill, man.
That's so awesome because that's where Rampage is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
That
fucking wild.
Rampage is in Antwerp, which is like, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like the second city of Belgium. So Brussels is the
Okay.
capital, I'm pretty sure, and then Antwerp, or maybe it's the other way around. But yeah,
I just like every time people talk about Lost Lands, I'm like, Lost Lands is the fucking shit, and it would be a dream to play there, but I literally could die the next day if I played Rampage. Rampage just is
Yeah,
like
same here.
this
It's nuts.
energy that I've seen inside and like talking to people from like Funcase's family, like Sweet Tooth and all those people who like had their first opportunities to play there, and they're like, dude, it's unreal. It's
it's
magical.
so fucked. Like
It's
honestly, the worst thing is the next show. I flew home from America on March the 10th
Okay.
last year, and I was playing Rampage on the 14th.
Mhm.
I'd literally flown home ready to play Rampage, and then
Yeah.
everything basically
I
life just
remember
ended.
that because so many people from here, it was like their first time playing, and it was like
Hmm.
such a big deal. And then like that shit happened. And at the time, so did you ever live in the United States and you went home because of COVID, or were you always in England traveling?
No, so basically, I was traveling a lot in the early days when I first started touring. So I think my first America tour was 2011.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Wow.
2012. Sorry. Oh, dude, Eli, you know how fucking old I am, bro. I'm like,
And the crazy thing to me, I literally am sitting here and I'm like, you look like you're like 25 years old.
oh, thank you
I'm
so
just,
much.
no,
Thank you
no,
so
but
much.
it's amazing to see like, there's very few people I feel like that are kind of in your shoes that have been in this game for so long
Mhm.
to see this shit like grow and develop into this
Oh, it's insane.
massive thing that it is.
And that's definitely something that like I'll touch on a lot more as we get into it. But to answer your question about America, and so I was back and forth a lot because my girlfriend at the time was English. But then as I've got later on into my career, my girlfriend's from Philadelphia now, the girl I've been with like for a long time now.
Okay.
And so I was basically living in between Philly and England.
Okay.
So I'd spend a lot of time in Philly, even when I wasn't touring or anything. I'd basically just be living there. So the only reason I was coming home last March was to play Rampage, and then I was going straight back to America to start my next tour in May.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously shit hit the fan, and then me and my girlfriend decided it's probably best for us both to just lie low in our own countries at the moment because of how crazy shit is. And
Yeah.
then we didn't see each other for like 8 months.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah.
Hard.
the blessing
That's
in
hard.
disguise is she came over on October the 21st when there was a little window when you could fly in and out.
When everything opened up, what you were saying,
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
kind of had that first lift off from that really harsh lockdown.
Exactly. She flew in on October 21st until November the 19th, so like 4 weeks. And she's literally sitting next to me right now. She's been stuck here for like 4 months. So I'm like not complaining at
Hey,
all.
that's an omen right there.
Yeah.
That was like, we
Yeah.
gave you guys this window. Make it
Exactly.
happen. And I mean, definitely did you say you're in a long distance relationship too?
Yeah, I am. So my girl's from
Okay.
Canada and she's about to move here. But like even going back to what Chris said, like there was a time where I didn't see her for 4 months and it just
Yeah.
like
Oh
it
my God.
hurts. Like 'cause
Yeah.
that's like the love of my life, you know. So the fact that I can't like hold her hand or just be there or like you know what I mean, it's just
So
hard. It's not the
rough.
same.
I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine because I live with my boyfriend. So I think, especially during this time, even though I've seen like a shit ton of relationships end because you're like forced to be in a house with one another. I think if you like have a good relationship, it's definitely like the time to just like be with one another. And like, hopefully, I think
exactly.
that's why it's been just so hard on people mentally in this industry because a lot of people just kind of operate on their own a lot and they
Hmm.
kind of go through it and they're either on the touring
Yeah,
circuit or they're on these teams where they're traveling all the time, but they're with their friends and they're with X, Y, and Z. But what happens when all of that goes away and you just have a studio apartment in LA or you have a studio apartment in this city and you're like, holy shit, there's no one for me to be around. And now I can't go anywhere. And now the borders are closed. And it's just like this crazy downhill spiral, which is why I feel like us talking about like mental health and people starting to open these discussions are so fucking important because people just like
100%.
look the other way, especially when life is going so fast day to day and it's like just gets worse for like certain individuals.
Yeah, definitely. I'm
Yeah,
super supportive of how. Obviously, I'm in my 30s now, so I remember growing up when like you couldn't even fucking talk about mental health, and it was way worse like before me, you know, generations before me. But like, you know, it was the classic, especially a male as well as the whole, you
Yeah.
know, oh, you know, you've got to be well, just man up, the classic man up, and the classic sort of, oh, everything will be fine. And then I'm so glad to see now that mental health's getting way more there's way less of a stigma around it nowadays
Yes.
where
Yes.
you know it's very nice to see that people are discussing these things, people are very open about, you know, I've always been really open about my sort of the way I feel because I think I went through stages as a teenager of bottling shit up and then it's just so fucking unhealthy for you, man. So I'm glad that especially even in our little dubstep world, like our scene, and you know, it's become a lot sort of more well-rounded and supportive of mental health. And I'm not saying that people never supported it. I just think maybe it just didn't get discussed enough. So
exactly. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree. Yeah,
It's just something that's so much of like I guess an not an issue, but something that needs to be addressed. And then it kind of goes into the whole alcohol and substance, utilization of all of those things as well, where people just turn their heads for such a long time. And you say that thing about kind of like the male dominance. And I talk about that with my boyfriend all the time. And it's like, all of our fathers, the way they were raised, no matter where they were, you're not supposed to show emotion. You're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah.
that's just how it was, especially in the States. So it's really nice that people are kind of like blossoming this flower. And not only is it in the alcohol and the substance abuse and the mental health, it's also the minorities and all of the stuff that started to come to this playing page of, hey, let's look at our industry and let's look at these demographics that we're kind of utilizing and falling underneath, and all these people who should be included, but there's gatekeeping and there's X, Y, and Z, so they're being hindered of how successful they could potentially like be. And I'm just hoping, when I see people like you relaunching your label, and Chassi, you're doing all of this other work, and like I'm having on people on the podcast, and I feel like it takes those individuals to start opening the conversations about these things. And I feel like we can be a lot more transparent now because we have social media like Twitter and X, Y, and Z, where we can have this kind of fourth wall broken down between us and our fans and our followers, and organically start these conversations, because a lot of times we just don't know how much of a platform we really have to inspire somebody to talk
100%.
about things.
And then for me, like, if I may, like, so my brand, Chassi, is literally like, that's what I'm going to talk about most of the time, like with my brand, because how do I explain? Like when I was growing up, I was very depressed. Like I was getting bullied, and like, it's like a whole story. I could go on and on and on, but it was really bad. Right. And like a lot of people would always be like, oh, man up. Like, what the fuck? Like, don't be sad. Like, shut up. Like all this, like unnecessary stuff. And then me going to my first EDC in 2016 in Vegas, like a lot of artists got me like out of depression. Like they told me that everything would be okay through the music. So my brand is Chassi. If you see my logo with the warrior in the logo, like my whole brand is to talk about mental health and how the warrior had to fight for his life. You know what I mean? Because everyone put him down, but he had to find his way to let everyone know that it's gonna be okay. And if you fight through, like everything's gonna be okay. So that's why for me, I take it super seriously, because people think it's like so fake, but it's like actually a thing. And a lot of people are dying every year because people are just not being as supportive, So it's my brand. I just want to be there for everyone. That's like my whole thing.
The thing is as well, I know you personally now, bro, like since we started working together a lot more, and like I think it shows through a lot in your brand and your personality, that like if anybody sees Chassi online and they're like, oh, that dude's like super positive and all that, like that is exactly what he's like in real life. He's like the nicest motherfucker on earth. Like, so anybody, because I know it's really easy nowadays for people to be like, oh, is it a brand or is it a real person? Like that's a big problem.
Because you have both players. You have
exactly,
people who have both.
Exactly. I spoke about this on a podcast the other day with Spaghetti actually, and we were talking about like there's only so far you can go with sort of being a persona before everyone's going to be like, okay, so which one are you? Are you the person online, or are you like? And that's one thing I always tried to do with P0gman was like, what you see is what you get, really. Like if you know Chris, you know P0gman, and vice versa. So like, I think sometimes, and it's even harder when you know the person and you see their online persona and you're like, you're not like that. Like what the fuck? Like it's so, and then like, or a big one, and you guys must have experienced it as well, is when you see somebody at a festival or a backstage at a show or something, but you've known them a long, long time, and then they've got this weird, like sort of persona in real life as well, because they're still having to be that online persona, like, and you're just like,
100%.
This is fucking weird now. Like, it's just weird.
I feel like that's how people lose themselves, though.
100%.
That kind of, because I look at certain social media platforms and I use it as a way to like I love Discord. I just hopped on the Discord train because I was like dreading it for so long, because I was like, this is kind of intimidating. It's a lot of different channels. I don't really know how to work it. And then when I finally got everything set up, I was like, this is so dope. And you get this like really natural connection level with everybody in the group, and you're building this community to kind of the tone you want it to be in. But then, you're able to have your image elsewhere. But it's like when I think about Lizzy Jane, it's like that is somebody who is not me in my personal life, but I want my personal attributes to shine through her. And it's just, it is sad when you see people who, especially when you knew them before they blew up, quote unquote, or they got, the ball rolling, and you more than anything, P0gman know that like this is like a marathon. This is not a sprint.
Yeah.
And it's if you think it's gonna happen out of nowhere and you think you're gonna end up on the touring circuit in 6 months, chances are your longevity is not gonna last, and you're gonna, you know, if you're not putting music. And I mean, like, I don't know, what do you think about that? Because I feel like now more than ever before COVID, you would see these people like pop up and you would just be like, wait, they don't have any music, or wait, they don't have X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I always used to just like scratch my head and get frustrated, because as an upcoming artist, you're like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? But then you like take a step back and you're like, okay, look at like the big picture, and like look at if this is a short-term career or if this is like a long-term career. I don't know.
Well, it's something I've always looked, because that's something that's come up a lot in my career, especially with speaking to new artists and speaking to people who've been around a long time, because you know, this will be year number 11 for me as
amazing.
P0gman. Yeah,
that's amazing though.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's like goals. Oh, you don't see
Yeah.
that happen a lot. You just don't.
Well, the worst thing
really.
is last year was 10 years of P0gman, but obviously COVID completely fucked that. So
it's okay. We're just gonna pretend like it's year 10
exactly.
again.
Literally.
I turned 24. I'm still 23. We're just gonna skip this year.
Exactly. But like, to sort of to go off what you said, like I totally agree with you. Like, you can see sometimes, and this is no shade at anybody, because it took me a long time to realise this, that if you're open and honest about what you want your brand to be, if you just want to get big quick and make money, but you're honest about it, then fucking Godspeed to you, man. Like, do your thing. But the problem is because of how social media is and the scene is and everything is, if you do say that, you'll get absolutely fucking chastised for it. It's like, you know, so like, But, and then that's when you get the sort of fakeness, and they're like, oh, I'm in it for the long run, I do it for the love of music. And it's like, well, do you really? Like, you know, because it's, some people are very sort of see-through, you know, you can see it in an instant. But like, I would much prefer someone to just be straight, like, honest, like, oh, why do you do this? Because I want to make a shit ton of money. Well, respect, you know.
Yeah, you can't do anything but respect somebody telling the truth like that. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
you know, rather than come out with this big spiel of like, you know, oh, I've got a story and I've got, you know, everybody's got a story. I'm not knocking that at all. But like, if you just want to make some fucking money and you enjoy making music and that's your way of making money, then be like, fucking wear it with pride. Like, do it. Like, don't think that you need to have this big background and this big sort of like thing of like, oh yeah, I'll do it for this reason and this reason and this reason. Because look, at the end of the day, unfortunately, money makes the fucking world go around. And, you know,
it does.
It is a job to some people. And, you know, I remember when this became a career for me, and it took a long time for me to fall back in love with music, because it went from a hobby to a job.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I don't really enjoy making music as much as I used to, because when I was working at a supermarket while I was at university, and all I wanted to do was get home so I could get on my laptop and make music. That's all I fucking wanted to do. Like, even if I was up till God knows what time in the morning, as long as I was just churning out music, I was happy, because it was my hobby. And then when it became my full-time career, when I finally quit my job and, you know, this was paying my bills, I kind of got to the point where I had to get up and sit at my laptop and make music. I wasn't doing it for fun anymore. I was doing it because I had to make money. And I really fell out of love with it for a long time. So, like,
isn't that weird mentally? Like,
yeah,
isn't
definitely.
that like such a weird, because I feel like very pre-COVID, I was able to make that jump like 6 months before COVID hit. And that is the epitome of how I felt. And I was like, why the fuck do I feel this way? I was like, why? Because like, it's like creating the space that you have, whether it's, you know, just on your laptop or you going out to write music. And it was like, exactly like when I was in school and I was working 2 other jobs, it was like, you're not going to sleep so you can learn how to make music and you can learn how to do this. And it was like this fire. And I see this fire in a lot of like students I teach, where they're just like the light bulbs are starting to click and they're starting to get the understanding and they're actually obtaining information. And then you're like, wait, like, this is what I finally wanted to do and I'm doing it. And now my head's like, oh, like, do you really like, or do you really feel inspired sitting here? Or are you just going to write something that's trash and trash it out and walk away? So it's like, how, you know, mentally it was like, how did you get past that? Because I'm sure you deal with that too, Chassi. I mean, everybody does. Everybody sits in front of the computer sometimes and they're like, fuck, man. Especially now where I feel like there was this thing that I had mentally where it was like you prep the music to put out the music to go and play shows and support the music that you put out. And then what happens when there's nowhere to play it? Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
But the thing is, like, this is why relaunching the label was such a big thing for me, because working with a lot of producers who now where I was sort of, 8-9 years ago, where my career was just taking off, you can just see that there's so many kids out there who still do it because they fucking love it, and it's such a refresher. That's why when I started working with Chassi, like straight away, like we went from just being friends, to literally working on Chassi, coming on IM Audio and doing some work on the first the compilation for the relaunch, to then literally weeks later he's working with me on the label, and like it was just so refreshing to see someone like Chassi and a few of the guys around him that like shit. There's still a lot of fucking kids out there who just do this because they fucking love it. And I'm not saying that some of us older heads don't enjoy it, because I do enjoy it. I fucking love it to bits, and I love many different aspects of it now. It's not just the music making for me anymore. It's the label. It's the I do a lot of work with like colleges and stuff back in England and shit like that. But like, but back to what we were saying earlier, like it took me a while to realise, like, oh shit, I did this because I loved it at the start. Then all of a sudden I hate it again. Now I'm really back in love with it, and it's because of people like Chassi and that, and like it that really made me. Of course, bro. Like, it's really cool, and like, yeah. I mean, I know Chassi's like on the sort of the big bump of the launch of his career, and it's just fucking awesome to see.
I suck.
No, you shut up. No, you don't. I remember when I listened to the first time I discovered you was your release on Base Weight. And I was like, because I had seen you on Grime Fest lineups before.
Yeah.
Okay, you kind of run around with those guys. Those guys are all so fucking cool. And then I like watched some of your sets, and then I heard the release, and I was like, yeah, that's a deal. That's sick.
Thank you.
But it's very cool to see someone who's been extremely seasoned and kind of made it over this hump. And now you have, again, all of these other things, which is like why I started the podcast and why I do this, because it's like these other things connected to music, connected to your career, that fuel that inspiration, that give you kind of things to do when you don't necessarily feel like writing, or giving other artists like Chassi a platform to release. So going back to your all's relationship, did you guys just meet online? Did you like vibe out at a show? Like, how did you guys meet?
Do you remember, Eli?
Yeah, no, so basically...
Yeah, me too, I think. I hope it's the same story, but yeah, go ahead.
Let me see. This was such a while ago. I mean, I followed him on socials forever because I always loved, like, P0gman.
He's an OG.
Are you
fucking kidding me?
Like, not to go off track, but I remember, I forgot what year it was, but I tell him till this day, I saw my countdown with the monks, and I was like, dog, I was fucking fangirling over you, like, on stage going crazy, and, like, now I just text you every day. It's like, what's life, But what happened? I don't know. I mean, Chris, I think, made a tweet one day, and he's like, yo, I'm looking for a lot of new music from like up and coming artists, like tag who you fuck with or something, right? So like a few people tagged me, and I DM'd him. I was like, hey, I would love to send you music sometime. Like, I look up to you. And it went from that to like, oh shit, like you're dope. Like, let's like, how do I explain that? I'm stuttering a little bit. Like, we ended up just becoming homies off that and just talking, and it went from that to a collab. And then what got me really comfortable with him, of course, because I'm really shy, was like, I do the Grime Fest streams, right? And for that, I don't put random people on. All the lineup is my homies. It's all like people that I want to put on that's killing it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to ask P0gman if he wants to play. Worst case, he says no, whatever. And I asked him, I was like, yo, would you be down to play? And he's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, hell yeah, like, I'm on, let's run it. And then just from that, we became super close. And then, like he was saying, the first comp he did, he hit me up, right, for the relaunch. He's like, hey, like, do you have any homies that's like killing it? And I was like, oh yeah, I have this dude. Like,
yeah, here's a list of like 100.
Yeah, literally.
And then he saw how into it I was, and then that's how we became like partners with IM Audio. He's like, hey, I love your vision. I know you like really do research on the underground, and I'm like looking into the underground. Let's do this together, So So sorry if I
Definitely.
ranted, but that was like that's like
No, that's pretty much
family.
from what I think. I think the first time I ever actually saw your name was through Hammy. I think.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
did you
He's
do some?
super dope.
Oh God, Eric's like
Hammy's amazing. I
one of my
could like,
oldest friends.
yeah,
Such a
he's the
legend.
best.
But did you do something with 40 ounce like before we started talking?
Yeah, so I dropped a single called Switch on
That's the one.
it was in 2020 and I want to say it was July. And like
Okay.
I know like shout out 40 ounce Colt, like Wednesday,
Of
Dak
course.
Daniels, Hammy, they're
Love
all like the best
Wednesday.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Legends.
they're all amazing. So I can see what you mean now, Chris, because that single was in the summer, and I think that's when you started like making that tweet, and I DM'd you. So yeah, I see what you mean.
Because that's sort of what I remember. It was through because wow, I've been friends with like Hammy and Tanner and Wednesday for a long time. I used to crash on Dak and Wednesday's couch for like the longest time, like
No way.
in the early years of touring, and then that's how I met Eric as well, Hammy, and he's just the coolest motherfucker on earth. Like I just remember being so
dope as fuck.
I remember just being so jealous of him that like you could put like any clothing on that motherfucker and he's still just the coolest man on earth. And he rocked shit.
When I played with him, I've only met him once, but I played with him and he was just like so down to earth. Like I'm gonna go in the crowd, like I'm chilling. Like
he's the best, man. Him and his girlfriend and the dogs. Because again, I spent a lot of time at their house as well over the years. Because before I met my girlfriend in Philadelphia, when I was touring, I would spend all my downtime in California. Okay. And it was usually between sort of Dak Daniel and Tanner and Tay's house, which is Dak Daniels and Wednesday. Then sometimes I'd be at Supreme's house, which is a kid called Brandon. Used to make a lot of sick music back in the day, but he's not done anything for a while. And then I'd just stay at Eric Hammy's a lot as well. And man, I was a full couch surfer back then. I
love it.
Yeah, that's dope. That's hella dope. They're amazing. Man.
Exactly. Even David Yaks, like he let me crash on his couch and shit.
Oh, they're dope. Like
so many
all those
legends.
names you just said were at the drive-in this weekend, and it was just so good catching up with them because I've been like at home ever since COVID started. So just seeing like Yak, Dak Daniels, and Hammy, it was like they're such amazing people. It was just amazing to catch up with them.
It's amazing to see how their label has fully grown and flourished into this huge thing. They just they do things with Insomniacs all the time. Like you can't get much much bigger than that as like a boutique label. And it's amazing that it's ran by artists. And I think that like segues into, you just relaunched your label. And I had Josh from Mode Step on the podcast a few months ago, and we were just talking about all of these new and relaunched artist driven labels. And I feel like that is like this space of opportunity where we have the control and the possibility as artists to shape the way that the industry progresses in.
Well, if you look at any of the labels, like the big ones in our industry, they were all started by like an artist.
They're headed by huge artists.
Yeah.
Like NSD was Schism, Disciple was Dodge and Fusky, and
Myro, right?
And Myro, Rossi, Then you've got Wakan, who's Martin, Liquid Stranger. Yeah. You've got I'm not sure about Baseweight, but I think Baseweight started
it was Sub Artillery.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. And then like even like some of the newer ones as well. Look, I know that obviously Jesse's just launched
Cyclops.
Yeah,
you have like
Subsidia,
Odio,
Boogie T's got Drama Club.
Yep, and then you got Will Style. Yeah,
there's a lot.
It all starts this way, but like I just hope that these smaller labels that have started by artists that are very, very driven, just artist full teams, kind of have the capability and the possibility to grow to that level.
Yeah.
And I hope that there's room for them at that very high tier level.
I think that the thing to remember if you are an artist starting a label is it's really easy to like look at Never Say Die and look at Disciple and like, Subsidy is a big example. Like Excision did it like in such a good way because he waited till he got to like, he was the top dog and then he launched the label. So there's no way it was not going to be a smash hit at all, you know, Excision's label. But then you've got the other side of it, which is another awesome thing. And this is something I think kids who want to start labels need to look at. Like NSD and Disciple, they've been around for fucking years for them to get to the point they're at. You know, they are absolutely cemented into the industry. And like, I think kids need to not get disheartened if their stuff doesn't hit Beatport #1 or it doesn't hit really well in like the first sort of year, 2 years, 3 years even. When like, you know, you look back, NSD have been releasing stuff for probably longer than 10 years now.
So
like,
long.
So like, there's different ways to do it, and I just really hope that kids, you know, I Am Audio was one. It took us, because we've actually been around since 2012, 13 maybe. But
Was
like,
that always an intention of yours, is to eventually have a label?
not even, but it's weird. The reason it launched is kind of still the reason it's relaunched, which I really like. And like, Chassi will tell you, because I've spoken to him a lot about it. The sort of mission statement, I suppose, of I Am Audio was like,
Yeah, tell me.
when I first started when I first started coming up, kind of in sort of 2011, there was a few American dudes I was just talking to constantly. One of them being Supreme, who I was talking about just. One of them was Megalodon, Trollface, when it was still two people.
Yeah.
This is how long ago it was. Trollface was two people back then. Obviously Guetta, Tanner was around, Jordan, Baron, you know, R.I.P., Recoil. And then, so that was like the American side. And then there was our side, which was like me, Bad Clot, 50 Carat, Solomon, Tramper.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like, so we were all sort of coming up at the same time. But then we were just so hyped that, like, we were talking to American kids about music. Like, yo, there's people on the other side of the world who like fucking dubstep. This is sick. Like, you know, obviously we knew about like John 12 Planet. We knew that like what Skrillex was doing and stuff like that. So we knew it existed, but we didn't know that there was like a sort of an underground. So we all start chatting away, and we're all getting along really well. You know, we're doing our first collabs with STEM, all starting to understand how STEMs work and shit. Like, oh, I can make a song with somebody from the other side of the world. This is fucking crazy. Yeah, like, and then it got to the point where I was like, there was even more young kids coming through who were like, I just thought were sick. So like, Juju was coming through.
Okay.
Like Roto. Midnight Tea was like just coming up. Like,
Midnight Tea's dope.
So like, I started a label because like none of us were getting any tunes really like signed anywhere. We were getting stuff signed to smaller labels, but we weren't getting stuff signed to like, you know, the big boys that we wanted to be signed to. You Never Say Dies and Your Disciples and stuff. So I was like, why don't I just start a label, just put out all the fucking homies' music, and then surely somebody will take note of us, and then we can sort of use it as a stepping stone to get to that next step.
That's so sick.
And like, when I look back now, it's crazy the first releases that we did. So we did like Trollface's first release, who went on to fucking collab with Skrillex and did the things he did.
Like Straight Dawns. Like,
nuts. Yeah.
We did Dubloads, his first release, who went on to just fucking, you know, Midnight Tea, Jay Phelps, fucking all these guys like started. I don't want to say started on I Am Audio, but they were there very, very early, like in their career and the label sort of career. So it always worked as a sort of stepping stone for it to like, yo, if my friend can release an I Am Audio, get a little bit of notice, because I had obviously access to all these people I could send the releases to, you know, because just from the relationships that I'd made in England and Europe and stuff like that, because obviously the American scene was still quite young back then, so a lot of the American kids were trying to get their music to the sort of to Europe and England, trying to get it to sort of the big players over here. So I just thought, if I could get this music for these people in the ears of the people they want it in, then maybe some of us might take that next step. And touch wood, a lot of us did, which was great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I think that's like a good kind of takeaway for somebody, especially in like Chassi or my like level of progression, where we're like up and coming artists, and you know, everybody goes through so many no's from very, very big labels.
100%.
And I see, you know, colleagues of mine and friends of mine just get like really fucking butthurt sometimes. And it's like, I just look at it as like, it's all just a part of the game. And like,
Of course.
it's a consistent kind of motion forward where there's so many reasons why a label may or may not take your track that a lot of times it is out of your control, and you can just like, you just have to stick to your vision and stick to the sound that you're trying to curate and just like keep on pumping. And yeah, but that's like so dope, because I feel like I see labels like that now who kind of have created that stepping stone where it's giving them a recognition more than just independent really releasing. And so they're getting put on like this little like pillar where like the big guys can just kind of like see the hat on their head, and they're like, oh, like
exactly.
you're there.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just all start to get picked up, because it's like, I look at so many kids who even at the start of quarantine didn't have big label releases, and I feel like quarantine was so fucking terrible for everybody. Don't get me wrong, like COVID was so bad, but it was like this mini cleanse that I feel like I saw in this kind of subgenre in our scene, where I feel like we are going to open the gates going back into shows with such a huge like basket of marbles and all of these new sounds and people who have just experimented, because it was like, we make music for the clubs. Like, we make music for the sub bass, for this, for that. And it was like, when you take away those clubs, like, where are people going to be listening to your music? And then you just saw people kind of go in all of these different directions and experiment. And all of these kids kind of who probably were putting out this kind of music for the past 4 or 5 years start to get this attention because it's just great fucking music. And they just didn't know how to get it to the right person.
And that's what's good about, obviously, Chassis seeing the other side of it now, doing the A&R stuff with IM Audio. Like you said, Lizzy, like, there's so many reasons that labels turn tracks down, and it's not just, oh, we don't like this song. Like, you know, I am so unorganized, and then Chassis come along, and we've like got releases for the next like fucking 10 years pretty much because of this dude. This dude just like killing it, like, and like that's what I needed, because I've been running this label like on my own the whole time, and like
that's a lot.
Yeah, I tried.
Work, for sure.
I tried to get a few assistants and stuff on, but it never worked. Like, for one reason or another, and then I'd have really busy years where I was touring a lot, and like the label was just like the last thing on my mind. And it's my own fault, you know. The label suffered purely because of me, but then, you know, Chassis come along and just like turned that shit on his head, man. Like, it's like our fucking submission email is just popping every day. Like, Chassis like fucking firing emails back. I'm like, this is exactly what I fucking needed, man. Like,
I try.
Yeah, dude. Like,
I feel like you complement each other very well, from the aspect of like, you're here, you've played the game, you're seasoned, you have a name for yourself. A lot of people, everybody knows who the fuck you are. And like, then you have Chassi, who's like this up and comer who's starting to get his big label signings. Now he's playing as an A&R on this label, which gives him leverage in other places of his career. And you have someone who is looking at all times for these up and comers and these next kids and kids that might pop up on his timeline but may not pop up on yours. And it's really, really cool, because it's like kind of like the two broken glass pieces that like fit together.
100%.
So it'll be really interesting to like see the progression. I mean, you guys have a huge compilation coming out on the 8th, next Monday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about it. Tell me about the compilation. Give me the lowdown.
Right, go ahead, Chassis. You can.
Okay, let's do this. So for this first compilation, or I mean like the second one, sorry, because the first relaunch was what, January, right? January 4th, Chris?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. So for this first, I guess, comp after the relaunch, like where we're gonna start moving things like every other week or something, like it was just, how do I explain it? Like the vibe I was going for was like, okay, I want to give people releases that don't really have a lot of releases. Like they do, and no like shot or anything. It's just like, I want to give them like what you were saying before, Lizzy, like the stepping door. You know what I mean? Like, and that's my whole point with I Am Audio is like, for example, the first compilation like that we did, right? One of my very good friends, shout out to Sisto. A lot of people are just starting to figure out who he is.
Yeah.
But like, let's say P0gman didn't know who he was, right? And then I was like, listen, I have a homie named Sisto. He's fucking killing it. Like, I think he should be on the first comp. And after P0gman listened, he's like, whoa, like this kid's sick. Like, you know the deal, you know? So for this comp, it was just a lot of kids that I think are killing it. But that don't get releases like every other week, and I wanted to like help them out and give them a platform to like really say their story, you know? So it's just like a lot of homies that's killing it. I was just like, Pogman, trust me, these are the future. Trust me.
Oh, it's a huge, as somebody who like scouts for like my radio show and other shit like that, like it's a huge lineup of killer artists. When I saw the teaser video, I was like,
Yeah.
damn, I was like, holy shit. So
Yeah.
it'll definitely be like fire. And I think that so many of like the artists on the compilation that you guys have, and a lot of people kind of sitting in our position, are afraid to independently release a lot of the times because they're scared
Yeah.
to disappear. And then it's like when you work for so long on like a single track and you like have this connection to it, you're like, damn, I just wanted to have a good home. I wanted to be able to be seen to people other than like the people who follow me. And like, I guess my question for you, Chris, is like, what would you kind of say to those kids who are in that position where it's like they're not getting the attention that they feel like not necessarily they deserve, but they're not getting any kind of interest from any labels, but they want to release all this music? Do you say, okay, you just need to say fuck it and start doing it and just keep on consistently doing it, or do you wait? Because I hear it all the
I
time.
think, I mean, one of my main issues nowadays, and the best thing is me and Chassi actually like argue about this because we're from like two different times. Like,
Yeah,
I am like, I think the shelf life of music now is like so bad, and it's like,
so
and
bad.
it annoys me like really bad. But
Yeah.
then Ela will come to me and he'll tell me like, yeah, but unfortunately, Pog, that's just the fucking way it is now. So we need to be pumping shit. And I'm like, you know what, dude, you're right. Like, you are right. Like, it's just hard for an old fucking stubborn bastard like me to be like, no, we need to have like, man. When I was coming up like in the early days, you had like 12-week promo plans for like for a single for like.
Amazing.
Now it's literally like you announce it on Monday, it comes out on Tuesday. Like, it's literally like
Literally.
that.
Yeah,
It's literally
you have to be quick. And if
Yeah,
if you announce it like too early, people tend to like forget. And I wish it wasn't that case, but it's like you have to be consistent. Like if you announce something this day, you have to have a video a certain day, and then you have to have
Yeah.
this the next day.
Yeah.
Or else people are just like, oh, I forgot. Oh well.
No,
And
it
that's one
literally
of-
sucks,
is.
you know?
Because there's
that's
so
one
much
of the
content.
things. Exactly. That's what it
Exactly.
is. Like, that's one of the things that like I find quite you know, I don't hate it at all, but you know, I just, there's part of me that's sort of old school, I should say. Like, I wish stuff just had a bit more shelf life, but I don't
Yeah.
actually think that's the scene's fault in itself. I think that's just like the way life has gone when, you know, with like streaming. Because back in the day, you would have had to go and fucking, you know, buy a CD. Like, this is before even my time.
Buy
but
a
like,
record, buy a CD.
Yeah.
Literally,
But
yeah.
like, I remember, so when I was releasing, 2010 was my first ever like official release on a label. So I don't even, was Spotify even around in 2010?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Apple Music definitely wasn't, because Apple Music is like new too.
Yeah.
It's
So
like 5 years old or something.
So obviously when I was coming up, SoundCloud was so important.
So
like
big.
you could get fucking tens of hundreds of thousands of plays on SoundCloud like that. If it just hit right, there was no reposting. So like your page was your page. Like, everybody knew that that's where they had to go. And like,
Yeah.
and like, again, sorry to fucking like ramble on, but this is
Oh
another
no,
thing.
please go talk.
This is
No,
another thing I really, really, really like about meeting Chassi and him introducing me to a lot of the kids who I've sort of been intro to, and now I'm working with a lot more with the label. Is the scene was so supportive of each other in the early days when we were all up and coming. Everyone was nobody cared about posting, because, and again, this is nobody's fault. This is more to do with like the way that like websites
It's progression of our world.
Yeah, and websites have changed, algorithms, website. You know, back in the day, I could post a link on Facebook that wasn't even a song of mine. It was just a friend's song, and it would get just as much traffic as like anything else I posted. Now, if you dare post a link on Facebook, fuck me, you could have 100,000 fans.
Yeah.
Like, you can have 100,000 fans and fucking 10 people see it because you've posted a link, and Facebook wants to charge you for shit and doesn't want to send
so
people
annoying,
elsewhere.
You have to pay to play to share your art or
Yeah.
share any content at all whatsoever.
Exactly.
And that's why I feel like it's been so fucked, because it's like then you have these people with like, and I don't have like the grounds to speak for anybody, but you see these big players who come in and they just have such a big budget for marketing and they have such a big budget for X, Y, and Z. And it's like, of course they're going to get all these likes. Of course they're going to get this because they're paying to play the game. And you have to make that choice if you're going to pay to play the game, because it's like, even if you put out engaging content every single day, if you're not putting an ad or giving that platform any money at all, you essentially almost disappear. And that's like the fucked part about it, is the way that the algorithms are formatted nowadays, let alone us as artists are expected to do everything under the moon and produce a new track every week.
I also think it's there's a weird thing nowadays, and I'm massively guilty for it myself, where because everything is so accessible and everything is just a click, like I'll find myself, if one of my favourite bands or something has posted something, I'll like it before I've even read the status or listened to the song. And it's just like, just instinct. Oh, that's me supporting. When really, like, in hindsight and in reality, like, it's okay for you not to like something that, like, someone puts out. Like, and unfortunately, I think nowadays that stuff can get overly pushed just because people are like, oh, I have to like that. I have to like that because, because it's the in thing or the cool thing. And like, I see that happen a lot. And it's, like I said, I'm guilty of it as well. One of my favourite bands will put something out, some hardcore band that I love. And I'm like, I'm already preaching about how sick it is. I've not even fucking listened to the song yet. And it's like, it's so easy for like fans, including ourselves, because we're obviously fans of a lot of music as well. We're not just like, the artists and the producers and stuff. Like, it's so easy to just get lost in the world now of where, like, everything's just a click. So it's like, yeah, I like that, yeah, I'll share that, yeah, I'll comment on that. And it's like, when really back in the day, and again I sound fucking like an old grumpy bastard, but
it's
like,
just changed so much though, so it's important to talk about the change. And it's going to be so interesting to see where we're at like a decade from now, like what the fuck's going to be going on then.
Well, I think literally, think of it this way, like back in the day, like, so when I was a kid, obviously no fucking streaming or anything, I was a little rocker kid. I remember what album was it now? I think it was Limp Bizkit's album after Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavoured Wards. So this was like 2000, and this was the year 2000, I think, or 2001. Okay. So you guys were probably like, what, like 4 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2001, I was 4 years old, literally.
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, so I remember the second Limp Bizkit album coming out. Well, it wasn't the second. It was actually the fourth album, I think. But it was the one after Chocolate Starfish, anyway. And I was so hyped. Pocket money. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm getting this weekend. I'm getting this fucking CD. I bought it, and it was fucking shit. I hated it. Like, and like, like, because I'd spent money on it, and like, I had some fucking emotion. I was like, I'm pissed off. Just spent like, I don't know, what was it, like £15?
Your hard-earned chore money.
Yeah, exactly. And like, but now it's just like everything is so accessible that it just doesn't matter. Like, it, like, there's people are so emotionally attached on one hand, but so unemotionally attached on another hand.
It's like they're emotionally attached to like almost like the wrong things.
Yeah, they're emotionally attached to the brand rather than the art, which
it's like they don't even know what they're sharing when we treat it. Kind of like that,
Yeah. But like, don't get me wrong, you can be really into a brand because the brand and the artist are sort of, something like what More Kismet's doing, that makes complete sense. Like,
I love
Oh, exactly.
It goes hand in hand. It's extremely cohesive, but that's who he is. Through and through, that's who he is. So that's why it's like, it's not a facade. It's not, he's a fucking kid, dude. That is who he is. And
like,
it's amazing.
I think like, so in some cases like that, it can make sense. But in other cases, I think people think they should, because they liked the first 4 songs from someone, that means they have to like every song that person will ever release for the next fucking 20 million years. And it's like, you cannot like something, like, it's totally fine, but don't become that dickhead who goes online and says it's shit, because there's no fucking need for that. If you don't like something, you don't like it, that's it, end of. Like, don't be that dickhead who's telling Excision his song shit because you're a dickhead and nobody fucking cares. Like,
Correct.
The fact that you've gone out of your way and even spent 30 seconds typing that message out, like, you're a dick.
Yeah,
like,
there's some fucked up people in the world.
Yeah, but like, I think also, remember that it's okay to not like something. Like, it's totally
absolutely
fine.
And I think there's like a thing now where, especially I see, well, no, it's in all genres, but it's like, I feel like as an artist, from my point of view, you're supposed to develop and experiment and do different types of shit and kind of find your journey and find your way. And then everybody kind of expects for you to like, oh, you're a bass artist. So the second you don't make bass music, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And then it's like, I think of all the time, like Getter, like his Visceral project as an example. And it's like, what happens when everybody doesn't pay attention to the shift and then they do pay attention and then they fucking hate it. And then you got this just like outlash of hate towards something that's just simply an expression or a different like kind of journey in his project. And then it's like, how do you handle that?
The visceral example is like the perfect example.
Yeah,
it's like,
literally.
It's
so
like,
amazing.
you know, Tanner released that project and it was fucking, as an actual listener of music and a lover of music, it was fucking unbelievable. It was, it was a masterpiece.
It was the
but
best.
then like, but the thing that really, I got, you know me, I don't tweet, I don't, no beef, no nothing, but I got really pissed off about that and actually made a tweet for once saying like, fuck everybody. But like,
I don't blame you, bro.
Yeah, the thing that really pissed me off about that is like, you know, Tanner ended up cancelling his tour, which was so fucking like sad to see.
So sad.
Yeah, that was.
But the thing, this literally ties in perfectly to what we were just saying about like kids liking something before they even know what it is. Because if some of these people who were booing him at shows and stuff, did they not realise they were buying tickets to the Visceral tour?
They didn't even listen.
The Visceral album.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Visceral album, you've bought tickets to the Visceral tour. What the fuck do you think is going to get played? Like,
literally.
Like, it's just, and it just.
Bro step out of thin air is apparently what they expected. And it's just like, and that's exactly what it is. It's just like, we're so fast paced. And at any point in time, we can go on any app and look at a million different things. So people just don't pay attention. And then it's like it all ties in because then you talk about shelf life and re-listenability of a song, and people's like attention span is just so short now that I have to post a fucking reel instead of a video that's a minute long, because if I post a video, nobody will watch the damn thing because they only want something that's 30 seconds so they can get on with their day. And it's like, how far does this go before we just can't pay attention to anything anymore? And our minds just going every which direction. And there's just so much stuff out there. But then it's like, what stuff is quality and what stuff is just a placeholder?
Yeah.
You know?
Because I think you do get a lot of placeholder stuff where kids are like, shit, it's been like 3 weeks since I've put anything online. I have to put something online to keep my brand rolling. And like, that was a big thing for me to get used to, like, sort of as the scene moved and I had to move with it, where I was like, shit, I need to like, it's not just a fact of me being able to put one 30-second SoundCloud clip up a month now and like, that's enough. Like, that's not enough anymore. Like, and again, no shade to any fans, any artists or anything. That's just the way the fucking industry went. And like, that's what it was, because streaming took a massive sort of part in everything where, like you said, everything was so accessible. And the big one for me, I've used this analogy so many times on so many podcasts and fucking interviews and everything. But like, the way I look at it, and this is what annoys me about stuff being so accessible now, that this is basically just going to be like an hour of P0gman ranting about because he's an old figure.
I love it.
It's because you have to understand how few opportunities there is for artists to talk. And I can tell you that once these gates open, everyone's going to be gone and traveling and doing this. So this is the time to open these conversations and have these
100%,
sessions.
Yeah.
Because my issue coming up with how accessibility changed was, now you can literally, everyone is so accessible, whether it's a tweet, whether it's a DM, whatever it is. But like, the way I always compare it, and I try to explain it to people, is like, again, let's go back to the sort of the Limp Bizkit thing that I was talking about. So another band that I loved back then, Slipknot, for instance.
My favorite.
Of course, legends.
Yeah.
If Slipknot would have come to my city, because like, obviously being from a little city in the middle of England, like, you only got a chance to see a band like that like maybe once a year, maybe once every like 2-3 years. Every time they released an album, they'd do the world tour sort of thing. And like, I think, and this sort of argues my other points from the other side, which is weird because I'm kind of arguing with myself. But like, if I wanted, for instance, to say anything to Corey Taylor, like the lead singer of Slipknot, I would have to wait like at the back door of a gig at like 1 a.m. in the morning just for the chance that he may walk out and go to the tour bus. And I could literally tell him that he's the greatest person who's ever lived. But like, that was it. Like, that was literally it. And like, now, kids, everyone is so accessible. Like, do you really think I would have ever in my wildest dreams see Corey Taylor coming out the door and thought, you know what, I'm going to tell him that the snare was shit on his last song? Like, fuck no. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, but because everybody's so accessible now, people think that that's like okay to do. Like, just straight on SoundCloud. Oh, the frequency in this range is bullshit. And I'm like, just fuck off.
Dude, I came to a point in my time where I just said, you cannot look at the comments.
No, you can't.
You cannot look at them. Like, you post the fucking song, you put it in the playlist, you say, okay, and you turn around and you walk the other way. But the sad thing is that now I feel like, and it correlates with a lot of things. It correlates with people being upset at the world right now, people being inside, people not having jobs.
Yeah.
But people have carried that energy that I see there to every facet on every platform.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you look at it and you're like, holy fucking shit, like, this shit is toxic as fuck. And I'm a person where even though I am a little bit socially awkward and I am an introvert in a social setting, I want to have a fucking conversation with you if you have a problem with me, or if you have, like, I'm good for criticism. Tell me what I can be doing better.
Sure.
I want to grow. Like, I want to do that. But you hiding behind a screen and a burner account and telling me to go do X, Y, and Z, like, that doesn't do anything for anybody. And that's just all I see now.
Yeah, and like what happened to me, even like I don't know if you guys have seen this on socials like recently, but you know, like Versa dropped an EP like a month or 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Like with DPMO, and Funkcase did what do you call it? Twitch stream, like to listen to the EP.
Yeah.
And me and Funkcase are really close. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna go support Versa, like listen, whatever, right? And where I'm getting with this is, I swear to God, like I can't make this up. I literally said, yo, James, how are you? Like in the chat, right? And some burner account was like, yo, Chassi, like raped 100 girls and like said all this fucked up shit. And I was like, do you realize I'm committed? Like I have the love of my life. Like, why would he make up lies about something fucked up like that? And it's where Chris was saying, because anyone can say anything nowadays, and people try to believe it, and it's just really fucked up.
There's no punishment for it, and it's like there's no like ramifications. Like, I can create a Gmail account, and I can go and say whatever the fuck I want and create all of this shit and then just walk away. And that's the scary part of it, and that's how you see these, don't get me wrong, some of these people who are in these very high positions as artists should not be there. They should not have a place in our scene. Certain things that have happened are not acceptable. However, the other side of that is, how easy is it for me to set up a burner account to create some shit to start a rolling pile of shit going down a hill, and then somebody's career, who, when they didn't do anything wrong, just catches fire and burns because nobody has anything better to do. And then their livelihood is gone. And I've seen that happen too. And that is so, so sad. And it's like, is this just how it's going to be? Like, I just don't foresee it. I don't know how it's going to get better. And maybe once everything opens up, there will be a different energy. People will be happier. The more that they can do, the less they're going to spend looking at their phone. But I don't know when that's going to happen, because like what we were talking about earlier, he kind of has this end date of these levels in mind with COVID restrictions being lifted in England, where mid-June, if everything goes as planned and the vaccines are rolled out, they'll be back to normal. And then we're over here in the States, you're in LA, and LA's still a fucking mess.
Yeah, for sure. And like even getting back to what you're saying, like, it's just like, I don't even know, like when I saw that, I just got really upset, because for me, like, you know, I'm engaged to someone. I have 4 sisters. So like anytime I hear anyone do anything like that, I get like really like, you know, pissed off, because it's not the right thing to do. And like, it got like really uncomfortable. Like, you know how uncomfortable it is for like Funkcase to DM me, be like, yo, like, what is this guy saying? Like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, yo, like, I have no idea who he is. It was some like random rumor, you know? And it just, I don't know. I just don't know how people have so much energy to just make up lies that could ruin someone's life, you know?
I think
it's just really bad.
It's quite sort of working in the way that the world has gone in general as well. I think like social media just being this hub for just like where anything can happen now, and like it's giving people these platforms and these sort of boxes to sort of just say and do whatever they want. Like you can look at it from the bigger picture. This is pretty much how conspiracies start. It takes one thing to get said, and it gets tweeted or it gets retweeted, and then somebody else it's like this echo chamber shit. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's a huge echo chamber.
Yeah, all it
100%.
takes, and like nobody wants to actually like fact check or do anything anymore. People just want to read a headline and then like that's it. I believe that right now, and it's like, well, you know, the older generation are fucking terrible for it. My dad, for instance, you know,
My mom,
the amount of times I've had to tell my dad, like, Dad, please don't believe everything you read on fucking Facebook, and like, you know, especially
that's
when it's
the worst
from like
place, dude.
The worst, literally
especially
the
when
worst.
it's from like www.thisisdefinitelyrealnews.com.org.net, and it's like, oh yeah, cool one, Dad. You definitely worth believing that shit is. Like, come on, man.
God.
But again, I think just fucking. I know. I just keep saying how fucking much shit's changed, but like social media, man, it's just like it's the greatest. The internet in general is the best / worst thing that ever fucking happened.
100%.
Like, ever.
When it's used correctly and when it's used to what it was designed to be utilized for, it's amazing. And it opens this huge door of like, I remember I had an agent on the other day and he was like, you know, to get music, we used to get sent CDs from across the world, from across the country, and that's how we discovered artists. And now I can send an email, I can send a DM, and it happens in the click of a second, and you can find the next big thing. And it's amazing how it's grown, but it's like everything in life. There's pros and there's cons. There's always going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And I hope with the progression, and I hope with people leading in, you know, I meet so many artists and so many people who work in this industry, and there's only a handful of people that have really left like a bad fucking impression on me.
Yeah.
So many people who I meet are just sweethearts. So it's like when these people, whether they're artists or not, or they're industry people or not, go on these accounts, it's like in the back of my mind, it shouldn't have to be said, but it's like, you're a human, I'm a human. If I wake up and I get some nasty shit tweeted at me, my headspace goes down to the trash, and I have to pull myself back out of it and say, okay, delete this app off your phone today. Don't fucking go on that shit. Pay attention to living in the moment. And I just feel like there's this disconnection now of living in reality in the moment and thinking about what's next and thinking about all of this other shit instead of, hey, I'm here and that's going to go away. But now you have people who want to defend themselves and have the arguments, and it just makes everything worse.
And it just sucks that it gets to like that point, you know, because like when I joined when I joined not like the industry, what's the word for, like, well, I guess when I started making music, like getting into the scene, it was like it used to like all be about like love, and like it wasn't even like that long ago. This was like 2016, like everyone was just so loving and everyone wanted to be together, and now everyone's like, yo, if you don't join this squad or this, like you're not this, you're not that. And
it's like sitting at the high school tables.
Like, literally, and that's why like I've told a couple of people, but one day, and a lot of people won't like this, but I want to do something to where we could make it go back to like the original days, because I fucking like hate this now. Like everyone's just bullying, and if your song doesn't have this type of thing, like you're the worst person in the world, and you don't know how to do this and that, and it's like I'm ranting for so long, but it's really not cool. Like I don't like it. Like I came to the industry to like I don't know if the word is a change, but like I want to tell people like it's okay to be together. Like you don't have to be better than this person. Like you don't have to play midnight at EDC to be like the GOAT. Like we can all do this together, you know?
Absolutely. And there's so few of us, you know?
I've always said this. Like I've always said that like everybody forgets that there's enough for everybody to win. Like
there
everybody
is.
100%.
There's enough room
100%.
for everybody. And especially as like a female, it's kind of like we all just get put in this one fucking Starbucks cup, and there's only room for one of us in the Starbucks cup. And it's like, no, there's room for everybody.
No, there's so many female artists too. Like, sorry not to cut you off, but there's a lot of artists. Like you're dope. Like there's a lot. Like I could go on and on, but there's a lot of very dope artists that I'm like looking forward to hearing more. You know what I mean? So
it blows my mind that like we're even to put, you know, it's 2021 for fuck's sake. It blows my mind that we even have to make these articles that like look at these 10 women, and it's like it's amazing that we're doing it, because how the fuck are they still not getting the limelight that they should have been in the whole time? Like the fact that men and sort of have just dominated the scene for so long and made it so hard for women is fucking shit. And like, it's a shame that we even have to see these articles about, oh, these are the top 10 next women. Why the fuck are those 10 women not just in the top 10 next acts in general? Like,
Yeah.
but, and like, unfortunately, we have to make these lists because of how shit it's been for so long.
Mhm.
And like, it's a fucking shame. And it's just, you know, a big thing that to say that what we were just talking about, I think the problem with online, again, especially in the last sort of 12 months because of COVID, you know, everybody's stuck at home, everybody's fucking, like, I suppose the best way I could put it is like, look at like Yelp, for instance. Like, you go on there and it's just a shit show of bad fucking reviews of places.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
for some reason, we've lost the art of telling people that something's good. We'd rather just complain about, like,
you just put it perfectly. We've
Yeah.
lost the art of telling people that something is good. It's always, oh, well, I didn't like that one thing. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But hey, like, I
For
just remember
sure.
like being told to sandwich shit when I was like wanting to say something. It's like you say something good, you say something they could do better, and then you say something great. And it's like
Mhm.
there's the scene is so small, even though it seems big and everybody's got their tables and shit. There's so few of us. And there's just a way that we can all work together. And I think it kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying earlier, Chris, where like you said you were coming up in 2010 to 2012, and all of you guys were so kind of knit and close. And I get there were fewer of you, but you all
Mhm.
supported the fuck out of each other. And I
Yeah.
think you look at like little subsections and niche groups like the group that Chassi has, like my friends down here in Florida, and we all just gas each other up and we're like, go, 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 go. And it's like if we could kind of blow that up on a larger scale and it start to break down these barriers and these like gatekeeping walls of, oh, there's not room for you here because then I can't sit here. It's like that's the only way that we're going to get to the other side of this and it not completely like implode this scene from the floor up of letting other artists come through the door, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a big thing to say about that, if that's okay. So like that's like a very huge thing because I'll give you an example, like the Grindfest streams I was telling you, right? Like when me and Grindfest had even the first one, I was like, yo, like I want to put all my homies on, and I want to work together, right? And then random example, like for all the Grindfest streams, I'll always make a group chat, right? And you know, usually after streams and stuff, people just won't reply anymore. They'll just forget about it. Like
Yeah.
I told them from day one, I was like, listen, nah, like if you need a post, like repost it or something, like put it in the group chat. We'll all help each other out. Like that's my whole thing. Like I'm always about showing like my homies and family love. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
even with I Am Audio, like we don't do emails. Like people email us, and if we accept like a tune for a comp, we make a group chat for it and we're like, hey, if you need any posts or if you need any love, like we're all here for you. And like that's my whole thing. Like not to like ramp, like I'm always there for everyone. And like I think that's how it should be. Like you should always have like your group of friends and like everyone should all be coming together and it's like, hey, you need help, we got you. Like not like, hey, like I have this many likes, you have this many likes, like I'm better. Like no, we should all be coming together, like showing love. So my whole point in this is just like as you're saying, like we need to do more of that. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Like a big thing for me, like I've been asked this by two people recently, actually. Like I'm not going to say any names, but two guys who are up and coming, both amazing producers. But they've both said to me, they're like, you know, should I be worried that like my friends aren't like reposting my shit or like aren't like, you know, showing support in certain ways? And like I think this loops back round to something that you were saying, Lizzy. Like I think sometimes people, they don't want to repost something or they don't want to show support on something because it's not the in thing right now or not the cool thing, and they can't be seen to be like, oh, I can't post that tune because like maybe this weird group that I'm in might not think that it's cool that I've reposted this tune or something. It's like we need to get so far away from that. Like support shit because you want to support it. Support
or like you like it, you fuck with the tune, support the tune. Like
exactly. Like, and it's a shame that like people are even asking me like, is it weird that my friends don't support me? And I'm like, it's not weird that you feel that way at all. Like, you know, I remember like when I was first coming up, like some of my closest friends wouldn't even repost my shit and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's really disheartening. It really is.
Yeah.
But like, this is what's amazing now about like these groups that Chassie's making, you know, because I'm in a lot of these groups, whether it be the label or the Grindfest stuff and that, and like, man, they are so supportive in there. Like, it's just
That's
For
like
real.
a tweet gets sent in, it's like, yo, can I get a bump on this? And everybody's there, fucking likes, comments, everything, retweets, and
We all help
it's-
each other. It's like a family.
yeah,
you
man,
know?
it's really nice to see that sort of coming round again, because it really reminds me of what it was like when I first started getting into everything. Like, because we were just kids who wanted to copy the music that we'd already heard, man. I just wanted to make music like Jake's and Cokie and Scream and fucking Banger, like that's all, and Casper and Rusko, like I just wanted to make music like them, and then obviously the scene progresses and it changes, and you have to sort of progress with it, or you can get left behind, which is really
Gaps,
easy.
X, Y, and Z.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like now to see, you know, 10 years later, there's like this new era of kids, and they're all so fucking, they're basically, it's like looking literally 10 years into the past, exactly what we were doing back then. It's so refreshing and cool to see that, like, you know, there's people breaking out of that mold of, unless you're with this group, fuck you. It's like, nah, like, you're all just fucking great producers and good friends. Like, just support each other, man, and just keep doing what you can do, because it's a shame when you see these people get sucked into this world of like, right, I'm with these guys now, so I can't fuck with you anymore.
I
It's
can't
like,
fuck with
why?
you anymore.
Yeah, no,
Or
that's
I'm
not
too big
cool.
for
I don't
you.
like
Or
that.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, man. I've been told by my management. I've been told by my management that I can't like retweet. I can't do the engagement thing. And I'm just like, damn, dude. Like, that's just like unfortunate, because it just
It's
sucks.
hella dumb.
It's
Yeah,
just,
because you end up losing friends. You end up losing good
For
friends, you
sure.
know, because you'll find that a lot of the friends. I was lucky because sort of the friendship group, sort of the producer friendship group, I should say, I was in. We all sort of came through at the same time, so we all did end up playing these big shows together, and we all did end up touring America at the same time. So, you know, it was great that my first EDC was also Gentlemen's Club's first EDC, and we, you know,
That's
we've
so
been
dope.
friends. Yeah,
so
like we've been.
dope.
What year was
We-
that?
That was 2016, 15,
Oh, I was
16.
there. I was
Yeah,
there.
me
Yeah.
and
First
Trollface.
EP.
Me and Trollface back
That's
to back.
so dope.
Like-
Yep, I remember that.
It's crazy because, you know, I was still drinking and partying back then, so we were just fucking like getting hype as fuck. But like, you know, I remember 1 minute, me, Tramper, Solomon, 50 Carat, and that we're playing to 6 people in a little venue in like London on a shit night, and then I close, you know, I blink, and me and 50 Carat and Solomon and all the boys are in fucking Vegas at Caesar's Palace about to play fucking it, and I'm just
That's
like,
so dope.
you know, like, and
It's like
if
a
we
dream.
if
Yeah.
we could do it, if we did it, there's so many more people that could. You know, there's generations.
There's
that
so
come
many
up
more
through there.
opportunities
Yeah.
now too, and it's like,
It's weird to me
Everyone-
because I look at this new generation as the next generation, forgetting that I'm an old motherfucker. So there's been about 4 generations since then. So like, you know, like
Yeah.
I look at you guys as the next thing, but like I forget that I wasn't the thing before. I was the thing about like 3 times before. So like, it's just fucking. It's cool to see that like it does keep happening, and it does, and it.
Yeah.
and as long as
mu-
the people keep pushing, it'll be
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
And it's cool because it's like people like you, people like Funkcase, people like John, like 12th Planet, all have this thing where like you don't have those 4 walls around you, and you're like, I'm gonna fucking support the fuck out of these up and comers.
Yeah.
Like you coming on the podcast, giving your time to come on the podcast. You're a fucking OG. Like, thank you for being here. Like, of course this
Thank you, man.
but it's like
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on so much. Like, Funkcase raids my Twitch streams all the time. I guarantee you tomorrow when this shit is on Twitch, one moment you're gonna look down and it's gonna go say Funkcase is raiding with a party of 80. And like, cause he's such a fucking G.
Yeah,
and, like,
he's
the same-
amazing. Yeah.
The same thing with 12 Planet. Like when he was in Florida, Lizzy, come and join me on my fucking tour dates. Like, let's fucking do it. And it's like there are
That's so dope.
the more that like people like you kind of and people like us tell kind of the stories of how fucking dope these individuals are, hopefully it will inspire more people in your position to be like, damn, like I can't open that gate, like I don't have to
Yeah,
close
yeah.
that gate, you know.
Also, I think like what people forget, like, is if we didn't have you guys, we'd just be those old motherfuckers who were just like, you know, like.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like the likes of us are like trying to use the new generation, but it's like, why not like why not be cool and be fucking friends with the new, like,
Exactly.
why, and this goes like sort of back around to what Lizzy was saying earlier, when you got like this elitist mentality and these gatekeepers and stuff, like, why would you ever want to be one of those people when you can just be chill with everybody? Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's so easy. Isn't
because-
it easier? Like, in
yeah,
my opinion,
it's so
it's
much
easier
easier.
that way.
It is, because like
Like-
all that's going to happen as well is, like, in another 5 years, people are going to be like, oh, Funk Case, like, fucking what a legend, always was sick to everybody. Oh, 12 Bloody, always sick to everybody.
Yeah.
But then there's going to be other people, you know, I genuinely can't think of any off the top of my head, because everybody I interact with is actually really fucking cool. But like,
Yeah.
but there will be people who get forgotten because they weren't ready to sort of, they wanted to be an elitist
Yeah.
for so long that they will get forgotten. And like, look, if you're happy just doing it, because there's the other side of it as well, where there's people who don't want to be on social media, they just want to make music, just release music, and I'm fucking massively cool with that as well. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna be on social media and like be all high and mighty about it, like, fuck off, man. What's the point?
Yeah, it's not cool. Like for me, I think my thing, like how I was saying, obviously, you know, the music now is very evolving and there's a lot of artists that's killing and everything. But I think the one problem is that not a lot of people, and not in a mean way, not a lot of people think like me, to where it's like, okay, we need to show all of us like love, like
Yeah.
you know, we were talking about how it's like it feels like a competition, everything. And I think the industry now, like music wise, is fucking amazing because it keeps progressing. But I think we need to go back to old school, to where everyone's there for each other. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like,
Imagine this kind of music with that kind of support.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
So it's like
Yeah.
we keep progressing, but we're showing everyone love. Would be fucking beautiful. And I hope to God it happens after COVID, because for me at least, like, I don't know if COVID will ever be quote unquote done, but like when we do go back to normal, at least for me, I'll be way more appreciative of like more times. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely. I think everybody will. God.
yeah, like I
we
think
bitched about so many little things
yeah,
that are going to
like,
be
I'm
nothing now.
I'm not gonna cap. I'll keep it real. Like even going to festivals sometimes, like I don't know. Let's say a festival would end at 2 a.m, right? Like I would always be lazy and be like, oh, I'll go later. Like I just want to like lay down in the hotel and chill. But like now you realize, like, yo, who knows when it's gonna happen again? So like
Yep.
when shit comes back, you're like, okay, I'm very appreciative of every moment. Like I want to go early and just appreciate like what I could do, because now we're just stuck at home. We can't do anything, you know? So
Absolutely.
it makes
It's,
you very
Yeah.
appreciative.
it's crazy when you're very used to something and then something you're used
Exactly.
to gets said, okay, that's not happening anymore. And you're like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah,
And
like
it's just like, yeah.
crazy. Like
Well,
for me, I thought it
got
would've-
very sorry, Chassi.
No,
Sorry.
no,
bro.
you're good. You're good. Go. That's not me.
Well, I got very guilty of what you're saying. Like in the later years, like I stopped. You know, I used to party all the time. I'd be fucking at the venue all night, just getting fucked up. And but then I started to slow down a lot, and I was on and off sober for like a long time. So even though I was still drinking, I would not drink on tour. Like I would not
Yeah.
drink at shows. And then it came back a little bit, and now I've been sober for a long time, like in both walks of life, like completely, not just at shows. But it, like, I need to become that person again, where I turn up to the show, I watch all the fucking support, I watch all the openers, and I stay till
Yeah.
the end, because I got to the point where I was the person I used to hate, where I would turn up 10 minutes before I had to play and I would leave as soon as I'd finished playing. And it's like, there's some instances when it's okay, you know, you've been on tour for you've done 4
Oh, yeah.
nights in a row, and
Yeah.
you're jet lagged to fucking shit like that.
But you have
but
to
like,
take care of yourself at one point.
Of course,
you
which
know,
is
For
like,
sure.
But like, I remember Lost Lands. This was so fucked. So Lost Lands, I played on the Sunday night, which I played one of the very last sets of the whole weekend, actually.
okay.
But Friday night, I was actually in Sydney, Australia, playing Chinese Laundry. So I had to
Holy
get through.
shit.
Yeah. So I had to get from Sydney, Australia to fucking Lost Lands, Ohio in like 48 hours.
Oh my
No
god.
way.
And so I wake up on Saturday morning in Sydney. I'd just played the show the night before. I took a 16-hour flight to Dallas.
Oh,
Somehow landed 3 hours before I'd taken off the same day because of the fucking like time difference bullshit. Then I fly up to Philly, land in Philly, have like 2 hours sleep. Then me and my girlfriend drive from Philly all the way to Lost Lands.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so
that's
like,
hectic. Oh my
and
god.
well, I said to the missus, I was like, right, we'll get there. I'll have a nap or whatever. and then we'll go to the show like later on. But then I got there and I started to see everybody, people I'd not seen for a while, and I was like, fuck it, let's just go straight to the show. So I ended up going straight to the festival, and I didn't play till 2 a.m. So I'd been awake for what felt like about 5 days at this point.
Holy shit.
That was one of those moments where I just soldiered through, and it was so worth it, because I think back now, and I hate to say this, but that was the last time I saw Tony, like face to face, Cookie. So like, I know now that like all that bullshit was worth it, because I got to hang out with Tony. You know, the worst thing is I don't drink Red Bull. I think I've probably had about 10 Red Bulls my whole life, like collectively. That day I drank 5. I was fucking, oh my God.
You were like, whoa.
Bro, my skin was moving and everything. I felt so fucking weird. Like, I've not done drugs for many years, but it felt like I was on fucking drugs. I was like, holy shit. Like,
I don't blame you, man. Sometimes you drink like vodka and Red Bull, and you drink like a few cups, and you don't notice how much Red Bull you're consuming.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, whoa.
We used to drink the Bangs,
you know what I mean?
the fucking Bang energy drinks.
Oh
those
my
are like
God.
crack. I used to drink like 2 or 3 of those a day. And then when I was like, damn, I'm like 20 and I have like some chest pain, so I should probably like stop.
Oh my God.
And the second I stopped the Bang, I was like, okay, dude, those caffeinated drinks, they're like, I'm a big coffee person, man. So I get it. But when you start drinking the Red Bull and down in X, Y, and Z, you look around and you're like, I'm like floating right now. I feel like I've just like railed out.
Definitely. Well, it got to like sort of midnight, and I was lagging hard. I was like, oh shit. I was like, the last thing I remember.
Play soon.
Yeah. I was like, the last thing I remember, I was in Australia. Like, what the fuck? I was in Sydney like fucking 24 hours ago. Like, what the fuck's even happening? Like, and then Boogie T, Brock, fucking one of the best people in the world, comes up to me. He's like, Chris, they need somebody to play on the side of the main stage because, like, Jeff's just finished. Should we play some old school shit? I was like, yeah, fuck it, I got my USB. So me and Brock went and played, like...
Oh, my God.
Went and played, like, a shit ton of, like, deep stuff from, like, 2005, like, just on the side.
Oh, my God.
And then, like... Blunts and Blondes jumped on a few, and we're all just playing fucking super old school shit. I nearly forgot that I had to actually play the other stage. Like, I was just like vibing. Like, big time. And then I'm like, oh shit, I need to play in like 10 minutes on the actual stage over there. But funny story there is, I just did a release with Boogie T on his last EP. Yes. We did on the Joint Force EP.
Yeah.
And the reason that song got made is because Boogie T was on the mic when we were playing, and he kept calling us the 140 Warriors because we were playing like old school shit.
Yeah, completely.
So like we decided, fuck it, let's make a deep tune, and like now we've got another tune in the works because we always used to refer to ourselves as the 140 Warriors because Brock,
he's so dope.
I've got to hand it to him as well. That dude should have been English. Like, he's so into grime and like the early, like he should have just been from London. Like, he's so fucking... I remember the first time I met him and he's, like, chatting fucking grime lyrics to me, and I'm like, who the fuck is this kid from...
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, you're like from Louisiana. And, like,
Louisiana from New Orleans, yeah.
I'm like, you know about these grime MCs that, like, people back home don't even know about. Like, you're a fucking legend. And, like, I've just loved him ever since that day, man. He's a fucking legend.
Every time I see him, he like lights up a room. I'm like, okay, hello, what's up? Yeah.
He's just the best, man. And like, you know, we need more people like Brock in the fucking scene. Like, coming back to what we've been saying, like, you know, just happy, not even happy people. You know, I don't buy into the whole you need to be happy 24/7 shit, but that's a different conversation. But like, you know, just people who are just not happy 24/7, but just happy to be doing what we're doing and fucking supporting each other.
We're so lucky at the end of the day. Man. Think about how many people actually get to make an eventual living off of their passion. Think about it.
Yeah.
Really, especially here in the States. Like, there's a very, very small percentage of people who get to wake up every day and go, wow, I don't fucking hate what I'm doing. Yeah. And I'm just doing that to survive. And it's like, again, we just sometimes take advantage of it. And I think after this, hopefully the tables on just perspective and just hopefully kindness and like compassion to one another get a little bit better when we're back at events and everybody's seeing each other face to face, whatever. Even if we have masks on, that doesn't matter. If people are able to socialize, like, our breed is not designed to not be social. That's just
100%.
not how we're designed as humans, especially in the scene that we work in. God, there's every night social. Come on. But it's just it's pretty wild. This year has been wild. It's coming on a
It
year.
has.
March 2020, March 2021. And you can only hope that like the light is at the end of the tunnel, which I really think it does. Like I'm kind of trying to be optimistic instead of pessimistic, like glass half full. But the vaccines are being rolled out, and it's just it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I have a very good feeling that as things continue to open up, you'll start to see people. We'll start to see things continue. Music releases continue. We're going to get a hell of a lot of music. It's going to be super sick,
Oh, yeah.
especially when events come back full-fledged. And, like, it's going to be so dope to see the development of the relaunch of your label, and especially the
Thank
team
you.
that you guys have now. It's going to just be, like, super fucking sick. And the new compilation drops on Monday, correct?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday, sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make
Yeah.
sure to add a pre-save link underneath.
Yeah.
So
I'll have everything over to
save
you.
that link. All right, perfect. That
ASAP.
sounds so good. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. Your time is greatly appreciated by me.
Of course.
And I
Of
think
course,
everybody's
man.
just gonna be happy to hear these kind of conversations be opened up, because we need to talk about it. People want to
Yeah.
look the other direction,
Definitely.
and somebody like an OG like yourself, Chris, up here, and then Chassi, an up and comer like myself. It's cool to see the different generations
Yeah.
on a lot of the same things, which
Of
I think
course, man.
is a
And I
good
have to-
thing for the future.
I have to thank you guys for making it easier for people like myself who are sometimes stuck in our ways, and we are quite stubborn with how things used to be, especially now working with somebody like Chassi. Sorry, my football team's playing at the same time as
I know, I love it. No,
Yeah,
it's okay.
oh,
checking
shit.
the score.
No, I would be the same way. If the Lakers are playing, I'm like, all right, I got to make sure they're winning,
But like, like working with people like yourself, Lizzy, Chassi, both, like, it's nice to see that there is a big part of the new generation that do want everything to thrive and everything to go in the right direction. So I've got to thank you guys as much as you guys thanking us. So like, I do really appreciate,
of course.
the way you guys
Thank
are doing
you.
things.
Yeah, no, that's fucking sick. But it makes my like heart happy, because I'm like, okay, these people are here. They are here.
Yeah.
And they are working, and they are getting recognition in any way, shape, or form. And that's all it's gonna take for it to continue on. But yeah, thank you both so much. Congratulations on the relaunch for the label. I'm gonna add
Thank you.
everything below. Everyone, go check out Chassi's music. Everyone, you already know
Thank
P0gman,
you.
but listen to his music again. Stream the new shit. Thank you guys so much. I greatly
Of
appreciate it.
course.
I'm just gonna stop recording real quick.
Of course.